I'm Neil Dugdale. I'm the General Manager of Sobi, which stands for Swedish Orphan Biovitrum in the United Kingdom and Republic of Ireland. Thank you to Find a Cure, Rick, for this invitation. Before I start my presentation, I just want to say well done to the Birmingham team. One of my claims to fame is that about 4 months ago, my mother was very proud that I was interviewed by Cambridge Television. And all 77 viewers found the interview very, very interesting. One of the things I talked about was the fact that everybody knocks the NHS, and it should be, on occasion, knocked. But it also does some amazing and brilliant things. And one of the things I talked about was how fascinating and how amazing the Genome Project is. And we're leading the world in that. And that has a huge role to play in many diseases, and particularly rare disease. And I think the fact that we've got almost 1,000 patients registered from Birmingham, beating Gosh, who we're not supposed to talk about, I think it's fantastic. So I think a round of applause for the rest of the team. It's brilliant. Brilliant. So this is one of 4 slides. So we'll be quick, and then you'll get lunch. I think everybody probably recognises the model on the left-hand side, which is about diagnosis, testing, awareness, and treatment. And it's fantastic that in the last 10 years, more treatments have been identified for rare disease. The sad aspect is that only about 5% of rare diseases have actually got a treatment still. So clearly, despite the progress we've made, huge amounts of work to do. Now this talk is about patient centricity and what that means for us as a pharmaceutical company. And it's already progressing way beyond the standard patient centricity, which is patient at the centre, and that's what you focus on. Because the experts are the patients, and the experts are the patients' families and friends, but the other experts in this whole mix are incredibly important. And as a pharmaceutical company, we believe that only by engaging and collaborating at almost every single step can we really, truly be patient-centric and then lead to the success that we all desire. Everyone is patients are rare in this area, clearly. Experts are rare. And so the need to collaborate and to cooperate is more and more apparent the more we progress. And in addition to that, the healthcare professionals are rare. The payers don't understand this area. And we operate in a world that does have a lot, at times, of financial restrictions. And so as a pharmaceutical company, we have to make sure that at every step in this whole process, we are talking with and engaging with as many people as possible. Because every time we have that collaboration, every time we have that engagement, we learn. We learn something new, which is really important for us in terms of developing new treatments. One of the things I want to talk about just very quickly is 2 products, not by name, but in terms of the journey and how they have come to help some patients. We have a treatment for a rare disease called hereditary tyrosinemia type 1, HT1. That was a herbicide used by ICI in the 80s. It was found to have an impact on the HT1 pathway. It actually comes from a plant called the bottlebrush. So you talk about the spurious ways sometimes we end up with an effective treatment, and it is sometimes a miracle that it happens. But only by engaging with the community came to us about the HT1 pathway. They told us that this product could be a treatment for HT1. And then when it got its orphan drug designation in 2005, all of a sudden, the small number of patients that suffer from hereditary tyrosinemia type 1 had a treatment. It's still not the ideal treatment because you still have to have a very restrictive diet. But the survival at 4 years age from when that product was first discovered to now has increased from 29% to 93%. So it's an amazing journey, and the journey doesn't stop there for that product, because only by engaging with the community around that do we actually produce potentially another treatment for another disease, or the same treatment for another disease. And that was all about a father with 2 children who had alkaptonuria. And he wasn't going to allow his children to not have an effective treatment. And so he pushed, and he listened, and he collaborated, and he learned, and he didn't take no. And he got people to support him. And that's the other thing I would say to anybody out there. Don't try and do this on your own. There are lots of people to help you to try and help your children or your partner or yourself. There are people that you need to rely on and work with. And only by doing that, then he formed the AKU Society. The AKU Society came to us as a company. This wasn't a push from Sobi. This was a pull from the AKU Society. Help us, that your product could really help this condition. Clinical trials are underway. They look extremely promising, and we hope within a few years the AKU Society will indeed lead the way for marketing authorization for a treatment for AKU. And the other journey we have is in rare inflammation. And it's the same story, really. It's about the community coming to us and saying, there are some very rare inflammatory disorders, and we are using your product off license. The patients deserve a treatment that has a license. Will you help us? Will you engage with us and with everybody else you need to be able to get more license indications for that product and take the risk away from the healthcare professionals treating those disorders? And that's what we're doing. And I think the point about this whole presentation is just collaborate, collaborate, collaborate. And we will do as much as we can as a company to help, but there are lots of organisations to work with, and that's, I think, the really important message about this. The other aspect, I think, from a pharmaceutical company perspective is sometimes there are treatments available. We also work in the area of haemophilia, which is a rare disease, but certainly not as rare as many of the conditions that have been talked about so far. And before we launched our new products in haemophilia, we had lots of engagement with the patients, the patient organisations, the healthcare professionals and the carers to find out what the issues were. And the overwhelming issue was the packaging is too big because a lot of it is cold chain, it needs to go into the fridge, and also the syringes are not easy to use. And many people with haemophilia will have impaired limb mobility because they haven't been treated properly in the past. But also as well, it's a treatment for very young. And so they don't have the strength to use the syringes, which we're routinely giving in the packs. So by engaging with patient organisations, by engaging at every step of that process, we produced a new pack which is smaller, which is almost completely recyclable, which again is one of the things that they wanted. But the syringe has got a series of design improvements to make it easier to use. That wouldn't have happened. Our product would have been launched with the same faults as other products if we hadn't engaged at every step with the experts within that community. And that's a really important point from a patient centricity perspective. And this is my second to last slide. This is about the World Federation of Haemophilia, and they have a humanitarian aid programme. So rare disease or disease in general doesn't have any borders. It doesn't stop at countries. And one of the programmes that the World Federation of Haemophilia have invested in greatly since 1996 is to try and get effective treatments to all the countries where access is just not possible. And we listened to the World Federation of Haemophilia, and we listened to the community. And what we did is we invested in our capacity to manufacture well ahead of what's actually needed to serve the market. And we're very proud that we've donated 1 billion units over the next 10 years, which is by far the largest donation, together with our partners Biogen, by far the largest donation of any haemophilia company, to try and make sure that even patients in areas where access is not available and are completely away from our region, that patients can get access. And recently, senior management went to see some of that happening in Kenya, and it was amazing how much help is being provided by the World Federation of Haemophilia, and we're very proud to play a very small part in helping people from those nations. So in conclusion, we as a company will never be effective on our own in terms of getting effective treatments for everybody, but we really do try and inspire ourselves to pioneer an area where rare disease patients will get diagnosed at birth and receive effective and sustainable treatment to be able to live long and healthy lives. And the story of one of our products with HT1, the fact that those patients, the 4-year survival, 29%, to have that to 93%, to be able to work with that community to achieve that is fantastic, and we're very proud of what we can do. And I'm very grateful that none of you have already gone for lunch. Thank you.